Have you ever stopped and wondered how a company can claim their light bulbs last for, say, 1,000 hours? Or how a news poll seems to know how an entire country is going to vote just by talking to a couple thousand people? I mean, it sounds kind of like magic, right? But it's not. The secret is all about understanding two key ideas in statistics. Seriously, think about this for a second. If you're running that factory, you have to tell your customers how long your bulbs last. But if you test all 1 million of them until they burn out, well, you've got nothing left to sell. So what do? This is a real problem. And this puzzle, right here, is what we call the measurement problem. It pops up everywhere. Manufacturing, science, politics, you name it. It's almost always impossible or way too expensive to measure every single individual thing you're interested in. And that is exactly where statistics comes to the rescue. So to start cracking this, we need a little bit of lingo. That entire group we care about, all 1 million light bulbs, every single voter in a country, that whole shebang is called the population. It's the everything that we want to know about. And here's the brilliant solution. Instead of trying to wrangle that massive population, we just grab a small, manageable slice of it. We call that a sample. And this little slice is our secret key to understanding the entire group, without having to measure every last bit of it. You know what? To make this crystal clear, let's use an analogy that has nothing to do with numbers. Let's think about making a big pot of soup. Okay, so imagine your population is this giant pot of soup you've just made. It's the whole thing. You want to know if you've seasoned it perfectly, but you're not going to drink the entire pot just to find out, right? So what do? You grab a spoon. That one spoonful is your sample. You taste that one little bit, and from that taste, you get a pretty good idea of what the entire pot of soup is like. It's a tiny piece that tells you about the whole. All right, now let's put a formal name on what we're actually trying to figure out in that whole pot of soup. It's true overall saltiness. That true value is called a parameter. A parameter is some number that describes the entire population. It's the actual average lifespan of all 1 million of those light bulbs. It's the true percentage of all voters who support someone. Now, here's the most important thing to get about a parameter. It's the truth we're searching for. But, and this is a big but, in the real world, we almost never know its exact value, simply because we can't measure the whole population. It's the mystery we're trying to solve. So let's break that down. A parameter describes the population, the whole soup pot. It's a single, fixed number. The soup only has one true level of saltiness, after all, but it is almost always unknown. And because these values are so important and kind of mysterious, statisticians give them special symbols, usually Greek letters like mu for the true mean or p for the true proportion. Okay, so if the parameter is the unknown truth about the whole pot, what do we call the measurement we get from our little spoonful? That, my friends, is called a statistic. A statistic is a number that we calculate from our sample data. It's the saltiness of our single spoonful. It's a number we can actually calculate and hold in our hands. So unlike a parameter, a statistic describes the sample, just the spoonful, and its value is always known because we're the ones who calculated it. But, and this is super important, if you take a different spoonful, you might get a slightly different result. So its value can change from sample to sample. For these, we use regular letters like X bar for a sample mean or P hat for a sample proportion. Okay, so we have the unknown truth of the whole group, the parameter. And we have the known measurement from our small slice, the statistic. Let's see how these two actually work together. Let's just put them side by side. A parameter comes from the population. Its value is fixed but unknown. It's the true value we're after. A statistic, on the other hand, comes from the sample. Its value is known, but it can vary. And its whole job, its entire purpose, is to be our best estimate of that true parameter. We're using the known to make a smart guess about the unknown. Simple as that. All right, let's ditch the soup analogy and go to a computer chip factory to see how this works for real. Let's say this factory makes 50,000 chips every single day. They need to know what percentage of those chips might be defective. So the population is all 50,000 chips. The true unknown defect rate for that entire batch is our parameter. We'll call it P. Now there's no way they can test every chip, so an inspector pulls a random sample of 200. And in that sample, they find 14 defective ones. That's the data. From that data, they do a quick calculation. 14 defective chips divided by the 200 chips in the sample, that comes out to 7%. This 7% is our statistic, our p-hat. It's a number we know for a fact based on the sample we took. And here's the payoff. The factory uses that 7% statistic as their best possible guess for the true unknown parameter. They are using the result from their tiny sample to make a really good, informed estimate about the entire population of 50,000 chips. That's the whole game right there. And it's the exact same idea when you see an election poll. When they say 56% of 2,000 likely voters support candidate A, that 56% is a statistic. It's the number from their sample. And what they're doing is using that statistic to estimate the true unknown parameter, which is the actual percentage of all voters in the country who support that candidate. So really, it all boils down to this. We want to know the parameter, the truth about the population. So what do? We take a sample and we calculate a statistic. We use the small part we can measure to understand the huge part that we can't. But that leaves us with one last really interesting question. If we know that every spoonful of soup might taste a little different, that every sample of 200 chips might give a slightly different defect rate, then how much can we really trust that one single estimate we calculated? How do we deal with that randomness? Well, that's a fantastic question, and it's a story for another day.